Hey, Service Advisor Nation, what's happening? Thank you for tuning into another episode of the AutoFix Advisor Cast with your host, Michael Doherty. It's spring. Spring has sprung for most of us. And I guess for our industry, that is the beginning of busy season, right? Busy time. So, kind of before I get into today's program, well, also includes today's program, but I want to talk kind of to the service advisors about making sure when you're having that morning meeting, when you're involved in that morning meeting with your team, from a proactive standpoint, shop maintenance, right? What does that look like? Has your business, are you guys doing weekly shop maintenance? If not, it's something to set up and definitely do together. But again, in the spirit of, again, springtime, busy season, lots of work going to be coming up, going on. I think it's really important for shops to make sure that their equipment is serviced and working properly. And what I mean by that is there's never a good time for downtime. So, what I mean by that also is like just like your equipment in the shop, right? When is the last time that your shop inspected the lifts, right? Serviced the lifts or had the lifts serviced by a manufacturer representative, certification, yearly certifications, cleaning, lubrication, fluid level checks, cable inspections for all those lifts that you guys are using, right? That's really important. Number two, just with the, again, spring has sprung, busy season, AC stuff, right? How many shops out there have the new refrigerant 1234YF? And I say newer, a couple of years old, but, in any event, are you guys set up to service, right? The new style Freon as well? And if not, please get with your Worldpac representative and figure out options for machines, as they do sell machines as well for those services. But also, if you do have a machine already or a separate machines, R134A, if you've got a separate R1234YF machine, or you've got a joint machine, I think Robin Air makes one that does both. But in any event, when's the last time you used that machine? Use it on one of your personal vehicles, one of your loaner cars. Make sure that it's working, right? Before you get that customer car that hasn't had, that you're going to do AC work on, and you haven't done a lot of it in a couple of months because it's been colder season and now we're getting to spring. Make sure that machine's working, right? Alignment rack. When's the last time you had the manufacturer's representative come out and do a calibration on that alignment rack? I know a lot of alignment racks these days are also going to be equipped with calibration for ADAS, advanced driver assistance systems, the ADAS stuff. If you don't have a lift that has ADAS capabilities, that's fine, but still it's going to, require some type of calibration or, a software update for, newer vehicles that are in the database for that alignment manufacturer or the alignment machine, right? Manufacturer of the alignment machine. So again, just really making sure you're ready to go with your equipment to help out customers, with this upcoming busy season. And again, like I was mentioning a little while ago, if you don't have kind of like a weekly shop maintenance time cut out, and again, it can be divvied up among different employees, different coworkers, things of that nature, like get together, have a meeting about it and come up with a plan of action, right? Because there's nothing worse than your equipment doesn't work, so you can't service your customers, right? So again, just, make sure you take care of that. I think it's really important. So I just wanted to mention that. Number two, I think, I've talked often about just being proactive on a lot of stuff, but, you know, I was at a restaurant the other night with my son and I didn't see the individual. I was kind of in a corner booth that led into maybe a kitchen area, maybe I would say like a waiter station, maybe where they keep, some of the pitchers of, sweet tea, water, Coke, whatever, napkins, silverware, somewhere in that vicinity. But I heard a lady ask, definitely an employee there, a coworker, if they would be so kind to just run an extra side dish out to a table number X. And very clearly heard that person say, "That's not my job." And I was just kind of floored. I didn't get up, I didn't go look around the corner, but, it piqued my curiosity. It's not my job. And, that kind of brings me back to a time in my career with not a specific technician that I've worked with, but just technicians over the years. And again, just, how do we instill in each other? How do we create the environment where again, it's a team atmosphere, it's teamwork, and we explain to everybody that it's everybody's job, right? It's everybody's job to help the client. Now, I don't know what that particular person or individual did at that restaurant, but it seemed like a very simple request from the person asking it. Hey, could you help me and just bring an extra side dish out to this table number X? And again, the reply was, that's not my job. And it kind of stewed me. I was like, wow, that's kind of sucky. So coming from obviously a customer service side, again, it's definitely everybody's job to help the client out in a certain capacity. So, you know, incorporating personalized service and providing more than the client paid for, right? So, kind of what does that look like, right? And it doesn't really segue too much from it's not my job because again, it's everybody's job. But I kind of look at it like this, right? So, I mean, I would say if, the shop that I worked at, we did not immediately start doing digital vehicle inspections because, well, they didn't exist really. I mean, we did a kind of like a courtesy check. It was on paper, but not as intuitive as it is these days with the DVIs, right? But for shops that are doing digital vehicle inspections, great. For shops that are not doing digital vehicle inspections, please, please, please reconsider, get on board. It's fantastic. It's transparent. It'll help you grow your ARO, but more importantly, let the client see what's going on with the vehicle that they brought into you. But from the DVI perspective, right? So when a vehicle comes in, if I had a client that came in for just like say maybe I don't know, my window doesn't work, right? And we determine that the window regulator is bad, and that's what the car is there for. In previous days, I was going back there, talking with the technician. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I did some diagnostics. It needs a window regulator. Cool, okay. And then, after that job was sold, I'd come back to them and say, hey, while the car's in your bay, would you mind checking the fluids and tire pressures? And I would get the feedback of, well, that's not what the car is here for. And I would reply with, if it was your mom's car, if it was your sister's car, if it was a family member's car that was here, is that things that you would not do for them automatically? Well, yeah. Okay. Well, that's the mindset we want, right? It's everybody's job. We want to help the client. So I think things that are important, again, incorporating personalized service from a service advisor standpoint, but also providing more than they paid for as like a shop whole, right? It's everybody's job. So things that kind of thought of, and again, it varies state to state, but I would say if you've got a vehicle in that's not in for a service or maintenance, if it's in again for a window not working, electrical concern, something where you're really not doing a service and maintenance on it, I still think it's imperative to document things that you're doing for them, and letting them know about it, right? The client. So I mean, for cars that come in that we're not doing service and maintenance on, yes, I mean, check and adjust tire pressures. If it's accessible and that vehicle has a spare tire and you can get to it, don't forget about that one too, right? Check and adjust that tire pressure to manufacturer specifications, right? For a vehicle that did not come in for service or maintenance, while that vehicle's in your shop, I don't think it's going to take too much longer to just take a torque wrench and go around and make sure that the lug nuts or the lug bolts are torqued to manufacturer specifications, right? I mean, even if, whether it's the first time you saw the car or if it was in 90 days ago, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, again, like let's do the right thing. It's everybody's job. Little things like that. It goes a long way because again, it's getting the mindset of I want to take care of this client, right? Even though it's not in for a service or maintenance, right? If you're able to, check and adjust the oil, check and adjust the coolant level, washer fluid, right? I mean, engine coolant and oil, especially. I mean, they're engine lifebloods. But again, going above and beyond, right? I mean, giving them more than they paid for any vehicle that comes in, right? Finding a way to, carve out some time. And I think this should be on the service advisor, not the technician. And again, if you're not doing DVIs, still document it somewhere in the RO, somewhere in the write up, right? So, NHTSA, right? National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. When a client's vehicle is in your shop, I think it's really important for you, right? They're coming to you because you're the professional to let them know if they have any active recalls on the vehicle and to let them know about that, right? How do we find out that information? Well, they have a website. It is nhtsa.gov/recalls. Again, NHTSA.gov/recalls. And it's really easy to use. Type in the VIN number, type in the license plate number, the state that the vehicle's registered in, and it'll give you a list if there's any active recalls on the vehicle. And if there are, jot them down and let the client know, hey, while your car was here, we did some research. We found out that your vehicle does or does not have any open recalls. If it does, we recommend that you contact the nearest, dealer and get set up to have those taken care of. Right? Again, you're looking out for them. It's everybody's job, especially with spring right around the corner. I think, or spring is upon us, right? So, busy season, right? Like I was mentioning. So, come up with a special, right? It doesn't mean you have to water down your cost, but come up with a special, right? Free on level check and adjust, which I think is something honestly that should be done probably every 3 to 4 years on a vehicle. And cabin filter inspection and replacement, right? And while you're in there doing the cabin filter, if it's accessible, if it's close to the blower motor, the HVAC blower motor, I mean, shine a light in there. And if there's some pine straw, if there's some debris, clean it out, right? I mean, again, value, right? Giving them more than they paid for. Like get in there and let's check it out, right? But especially with, warmer season upon us, summertime, specials, or, creating something where, again, we're getting people into proactively, check and adjust their Freon level. I mean, go back through the service history. If it's a car that you've had in for, 2, 3 years, you can go back through the service history and see that you've never done any AC work. It would be a prime time to recommend a proactive Freon level check and adjust, provided you have the necessary equipment to do that, right? Sunroof drain cleaning. That's something that's often overlooked. I mean, nobody likes getting that phone call of, hey, or no one likes, from a client perspective, right? I got water intrusion, right? And I wouldn't say 9 times out of 10, but maybe 8 times out of 10, it's because of a clogged sunroof drain, right? Again, what type of services are we doing for our clients when they come in? What type of value are we building for them? If you've got a vehicle in for an oil service, are you lubricating the latches and hinges, right? Are you opening up the sunroof? Are you lubricating the slides? Are you checking for debris? Again, it all comes down to being proactive and wanting to help them, right? When people are getting ready to leave after they have paid you for the service that you have performed and you're thanking them for their business, are you proactively setting up their next service appointment? I think it'd be a good rule of thumb, once a quarter, right? Once a quarter, get them on the schedule and let them know, we'd like to set up your next, we proactively like to set up your next service appointment, and, let them know the reason, right? I mean, the reason is to reduce the risk of potential breakdown. When somebody hears that, right? I mean, yeah, who doesn't want to participate in that, right? If you can catch things early, especially on a lot of these European cars with coolant leaks and oil leaks, and oh my gosh, right? I mean, it's never ending. So again, seeing that car once a year or twice a year isn't good. Every quarter, right? Every quarter, get them in to check it over for them, make it convenient for them. And, a week before that next appointment, send them an appointment reminder, call them, text them, whatever their preferred communication method is, to remind them that they did set that appointment. And if they need to adjust it, modify it, whatever, but, continued care, right? We want to get you back in to make sure that everything's okay with your vehicle, to reduce the risk of a potential breakdown, right? And I don't think anybody is going to throw a fit about that on the client side. Again, you're looking out for them. So just some things to, keep in mind, right? So again, when it's the not my job. When I heard somebody say that, that's not my job. It's everybody's job. It's everybody's job to help the client. And I think the more ways we try to do that and be sincere and transparent, and that they see the value that you're providing them, right? You're checking for recalls, you're proactively booking them to reduce the risk of a potential breakdown. Again, you're going through the service history. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I see that it's been 3 or 4 years since we've done anything with your AC. I'd recommend having the Freon level checked and adjusted. Let's check that cabin filter. Good time to replace it when we do AC stuff. Anything that's going to benefit them, that's going to help them, right? So again, constant communication, transparency, but, are we really doing the best for our clients? And I'd like to say yeah, but the answer probably is no. It doesn't take too much just to go the extra steps. And again, for cars that come in not for a service or maintenance, yeah, check and adjust the tire pressures. Let them know that you did it. check and adjust the fluid levels. Let them know that you did it. It's eye-opening to them that you're looking out for them. And I see when you do things like that, the client wanting to stick around and not shop around for other service providers because, again, they have options, right? They could go down the street. There's going to be another shop down there, but you're the best. You got to know that. You're the best shop in town. You've got to act like it. You've got to really feel that. It shouldn't be something you sell to somebody. Like if you're on board with the place that you're working, then you should be believing that, right? We are the best in town, and explain to them, we are the best in town, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. And here's what we did for you today among what you paid us to do, right? And that'll outshine your competitors, I promise you. So, Service Advisor Nation, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the AutoFix Advisor Cast. Thank you to our sponsor, WorldPack. We greatly appreciate you. And again, for shops that do have WorldPack accounts, they do sell parts as well. And I'm talking about not just automotive parts, but machines for your shop, service stuff, right? Lifts, AC machines, things of that nature. But again, please, set up a weekly maintenance schedule for your shop equipment. Scan tools as well, right? Have they been upgraded, or not upgraded, but have they been updated, software updated, etc.? Nobody wants to start doing an ECM update and the scan tool shuts off halfway through because it didn't have the proper update. So again, things that we normally don't keep in mind because we're just so go, go, go every day, but we got to carve out time to make sure that our equipment is going to take care of the client's concern. And I think that's important. So again, Service Advisor Nation, thank you. Appreciate you and wish you a great upcoming month, and keep your bays full, and looking forward to speaking to you next time. All right. Thank you.